Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps, and I'm joined now with the one and only Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie, what's up? Yeah, you keep going that way, Johnny. How are you doing?
I think Carl and Johnny just had a little dust up.
Something was going on back there. I don't know quite what. But how are you? How are you enjoying your back here in Manchester?
I have a good time. I always have a good time in England. Manchester is always a little bit easier to maneuver around than in London, so I'm having a good time.
So I love to get your take on fights. I think you just break things down so beautifully. So I definitely want to ask you what your thoughts are. We just witnessed Tony Bellew and Alexander Usyk weigh in. Tony Bellew looked in phenomenal shape, probably the best shape I've seen him in, if ever. What did you make of his physique?
Well, he's back at cruiserweight, so I expect him to be look a little less soft around the waist and whatnot. You know, he's probably had to work a little harder to make the weight, and I thought he looked great. You know, probably he's had a great camp, and automatically just by the way of having to make weight, you automatically have to work a little harder, and sometimes that makes you a better fighter. Just having to keep focusing on working hard to make weight. I think both guys look great, though. You know, I think Usyk looks tremendous as well. They've probably both had a very good training camp, and it's just left to fight now.
So, can you tell me how each guy wins this fight?
I don't know. You know, I think it's going to be very hard for Tony Bellew to win this fight. I think he needs to come out guns blazing and risk getting knocked out himself. I think he has to let the big guns go. You know, they call him the bomber, and I really think he has to be the bomber. I'd say it's in an intelligent way, but I don't want to say intelligent, but then he waits too long either. You know, sometimes people think intelligent and they think patient, they think, picking your spots. I think if he picks too many spots, he's just going to allow Usyk to do what he does, because Usyk picks his spots very well. I think probably better than anybody else, or most other guys, especially at or around this weight. So I think you probably want to take the time away from Usyk to start setting up his offense and getting set and whatnot. He's a very rhythmic fighter, is Usyk, so you can take away his rhythm by letting go of the big shots. If you're able to let go of the big shots, Usyk is going to do things to prevent that. He's going to change range on you. He's going to disrupt you as well. So I think Tony needs to set up some simple big shots. I don't think he can set up big combinations or anything like that. I think Tony has to let go of the big shots, but it's not as simple as just letting them go. You have to set them up in simple ways. If you complicate things too much, Usyk will take everything away from you anyway, and not only will he take it away from you, he'll make you pay for it as well. So I think the risk is going to be there. I think Tony, in order to do this, probably has to walk into some shots himself, risk doing that. I think he's willing to do that, but judging by the way he's speaking about this fight. But I think ultimately Usyk will probably not get caught like that, Yeah. And so I think Usyk probably wins by stoppage, just because I see Tony risking so much to win. Because Tony's a durable guy. Tony could easily go the distance, but he'd have to probably try less to win, and he'd have to be content with losing a decision. As opposed to, I think Tony probably gets stopped late in this fight because he's going to go for the win the whole time. And I don't see him quitting. I don't see him looking to, submit to a guy like Usyk. I think he's going to, try to be dangerous for as long as he can.
He's going to try to go for the knockout at the end.
Yeah. Exactly. And for that reason, I think he's going to take punishment, But I don't think it's going to dissuade him or stop him from trying. I think probably you see a late stoppage for Usyk, maybe with a corner stopping the fight. Maybe Dave Caldwell stopping the fight in the corner. I could see that happening.
When sort of evaluating someone's body language, what would you make of Alexander Usyk's body language yesterday at the press conference?
I think he's totally confident, but I think he's totally neutral and stoic. I've been saying this about Eastern Europeans in combat sports in general, boxing or MMA. They don't show emotion, and it doesn't mean that they're weak in any way. They just don't show emotion because they're waiting for the bell to ring, and then they will put a serious hurting on you. They're always very prepared, and I think that part of the teaching of any combat sport in their country is to not be emotional. Because I think being emotional can sometimes help you and sometimes hurt you, but it's an extra baggage that you're carrying into the ring or into the cage. So being emotionless and just being that predator, it probably works better because there's more of an ice in your veins kind of a feeling where you don't feel anything. You're just going in to do your job, and that is to put a hurting on your opponent. And I think they do it better than anybody else in the world at the moment. I think Eastern Europeans are the best fighters in the world right now in any combat sport. So I think, having said that, that's what I saw of Usyk as well. I saw the same kind of thing that I always see out of Eastern European fighters. Not really showing emotion, kind of a calm demeanor, but waiting for the fight to begin. And when the fight begins, you bet your bottom dollar that they're always prepared.
Some people were actually saying that Usyk was maybe overlooking Tony by how calm, and I know at one point I even asked Usyk, what he was doing up there, because he sort of had his head down a lot. And he said that there was an assignment his trainer gave him, and it was like an assignment that required him to do like some sort of mathematic equation, and he said he was writing a poem. Different, right?
Different, yeah. But again, Eastern Euros have very, very almost to us people in other countries, to us Western people, they're almost odd, strange ways. But they train the mind, they train the body, and they're very focused people, and it helps them in combat sports. I think, again, I'll go and say it again. Eastern Euros are probably the main species for combat sports right now. So, I had heard he writes poetry. It's kind of something that you don't expect when you think of a fighter, So, and he was probably trying to finish the assignment his trainer gave him, figuring if I do it now, I don't have to do it later. So, while I'm sitting here at a press conference where I don't understand the language anyway, I might as well work on this assignment. So, I guess that's what he's probably figuring.
I think he understands a lot more than he leads off, because there's times where I'll say something, he'll go, like he just already knew what I said.
I think a lot of guys do that. I think Canelo does that. I think,
100% Canelo understands English. Every time I've asked him questions, he's never even needed a translator. I'll ask him a question, he'll answer it, and then his translator will translate it to me in English.
Yeah, because sometimes you understand the words, but it's harder to speak it because you have to think of the word. You have to think of the words yourself. But once you hear them, you know what they mean.
Plus, I'm pretty sure there's still a little bit of insecurity in them that I don't want to say something wrong, and Yeah,
of course. But I have even my youngest siblings. They don't speak Italian. I speak Italian, but the youngest ones were raised in America, and they understand Italian because they heard my mother speak it all their life, but they didn't really communicate in Italian, so they can't speak it because they can't think of the words on their own. But when they hear them, they know what they mean. So I think it's the same kind of thing with guys like Usyk and maybe Canelo.
That's true. Well, speaking of combat sports, Paulie, I really want to know what your opinion is on Floyd Mayweather pulling out of the fight with who is it? Is it Nasukawa? I can never say his wrong. Nasukawa. What do you make of that? I find it a bit strange, to be honest with you, because you would imagine that he would sort of have already known what all of the details were going into this fight. But he says that he was misled, so I'm not quite sure of all the details. But what do you make of it?
I don't really know what to make. I mean, my opinion is as good as anybody else's. I know in the Far East, they do things a little differently. I don't know if they have any kind of respect for anybody. They're going to kind of do things their way, and if you want to do it their way, you do it. If not, you don't. But there could have been some misunderstanding. It could have been a lot of things. I wasn't there, so I can't really, if I give you an opinion, it's just as good as anybody else's opinion, because unless we were there, we don't really know what happened.
And did I read right? Is it that Eddie Hearn is saying that he would want to put you and McGregor on a DAZN show?
Eddie's a very much a go-getter, so he sees money opportunities, so he was mentioning, that he would want to make the me versus McGregor. But I think it's up to my team to also, get involved if that fight is to be made. And obviously, the main thing you need is Conor McGregor to actually want to do it. But I don't think you're going to see that. I think Conor McGregor put himself almost behind the eight ball when it comes to that particular fight, because he let on to the public that the sparring went a certain way. Now, if he knows he can't dominate me, so he makes everybody think he dominated me. So he can only look stupid if he fights me. So I think he would rather fight anybody else in the world than Paulie Malignaggi.
Well, who knows? We never know. 2019 is seeming like a really good year. It seems like we're going to be getting a lot of really solid matchups. So possibly.
I don't know. Like I said, if I had lied to that degree, where I made I beat the crap out of somebody, like it was uncompetitive, dropped them and everything, but then I knew realistically what it really went down and how it would probably go down if that person was even in shape, I probably wouldn't risk if I had the whole public thinking that I had convinced everybody of the fake, So think about how stupid you have to look. Like, he'd look really stupid. As stupid as he's looked recently, he'd probably look extra stupid. So I think he's probably better off going in another direction. He's probably better off not fighting, because everybody beats him up anyway, but he's probably better off staying away from me.
Speaking of the Eastern Europeans, Gennady Golovkin, let's talk a little bit about him. There's rumors that he may be signing with DAZN, but then there's also talk that Callum Smith's team is quite interested in a potential matchup with Gennady at super middleweight. What do you make of that?
I think Callum is a new champion, and he's looking for big fish to fry now. He's won the World Boxing Super Series, and he's really cemented his name in boxing and in the super middleweight division. And Golovkin is a guy who's advancing in age, and looking for the final challenges to make him the most money. So I think when you've accomplished what Golovkin's accomplished, it's all about trying to make the most money you can at this point before you get out of the sport. And so if there's enough money, I'm sure he'll take on Smith for those super middleweight titles.
But who would you favorite in that fight?
I don't know. I don't know how I would favor how Golovkin would look at super middleweight. It's weird because anytime a guy goes up in weight, there's supposed to be these new challenges they're supposed to run into, or kind of new hurdles that they have to overcome and things of that nature. But in recent years, with everybody taking PEDs, like guys are jumping weight classes like it's like they're eating a sandwich, So there's those hurdles kind of no longer exist. So I don't know. I can't really tell anymore. The hurdles and the obstacles you used to see at when the guys used to go up in weight, they were very common and very obvious. Now I don't know. I don't know how to call anything. And I'm not saying Golovkin's dirty or anything. I'm just saying, anytime a guy goes up in weight now, I really don't know what to expect anymore, because it's not the same thing anymore. Yeah.
All right, Paulie. Well, thank you so much once again for sitting down and always giving us some great fight analysis. Anything else coming up for you? Where are you going to be at next? LA?
I go back to New York. I've been in Europe. I've been in Italy for a little bit, so I'll go back.
You're going to go back to Italy?
No, I'm going back to New York now. I came from Italy, but to the UK for this fight. But I'm gonna go back to New York after this fight, and I'll be traveling to LA at the end of November. I may be at an amateur boxing tournament next week in Florida. I forget what it's called, but it's some kind of national international boxing tournament that I may be speaking at. So I may be there in Kissimmee, Florida, next week, and then at the end of the month I'll be in California.
Wilder Fury.
Yes, exactly.
And I will save that for that week so we can talk a bit more about that, because we only know what's going to happen in the next few weeks as well. So
things change.
Things change very quickly, as we know. All right. Well, thank you again for your time, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye, fight fans. Hey, fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do so by clicking this icon right here and hit the bell button so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. And we also have a free app available on iTunes and Google Play, so make sure you go and download that. Bye, fight fans.